But before I start, I just want to say that I wouldn't have a story without the Lord. And so as I say a story, this isn't about what I've done or what I became, but instead what the Lord has done for me and what He's using me for. I am going to share one of my favorite verses because it really helped me in my life. And it says, it is James chapter 5, verse 16. It says, therefore, confess your sins one to another and pray for one another so you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is very powerful in its effect. So I'm just going to run through some numbers here. 49,000, 12 million, 12.8 million, 3.7 million, and 1.5 million, and 40,990. 49,000 people died by suicide in 2023. 12.8 million seriously thought about it. 3.7 million planned for it. And 1.5 million attempted it. That's 1 every 11 minutes that died from suicide. In the U.S., in 2023, 40,990 people died in a car accident. Now, why am I starting it out with suicide rate in car accident? Well, 2023, I tried to take my own life. But before we get into that, I'm going to back up, and I'm going to start at the very beginning. And I'm sharing this again to glorify God, but because each one of you out there has a story. And this testimony is nothing more than yours. Yeah, you might not have done the same things, but you all have a story to tell. And you all praise God when you tell your story. So I was born in Indiana. And I was born in a hospital. And 2 days after I was born, my parents left. And it was 11 days after that I left. I was adopted. And there was a lot of pain through that adoption, but today I can honestly look back and be very glad that I was adopted from what I was adopted from. It wasn't easy. I was scared. I was hurt. I was lonely sometimes. The reason I mentioned about 11 days is that is a crucial point in a kid's life that he bonds with his parents. I didn't have parents for 11 days, but after 11 days, Mom and Dad got a call. Said, we have a little boy in hospital, and he was born early. And he's not doing very good, but we're wondering if you would come and take care of him. So, my parents came. They picked me up from the hospital, and they loved me. But as I grew up, I started to resent my parents for that. I had a lot of questions. Why am I alive? Why was I adopted? Why do I have to go through this? And as those questions came to mind, and as I started pushing against my parents, I started to distance myself from my parents, and I got these feelings of, what if I have to leave again? What if this isn't where I'm supposed to be? Or what would happen if I was born somewhere else? And all those thoughts that the enemy uses against us. And as I was going down that path, my life at home got really rough. And I didn't see anything as love, but instead I seen it as day trip. And I was a very scared little boy. And I'm sure my parents did everything that they could do. In fact, today I have a wonderful relationship with them, but I had to heal inside first. And as I was at home, there's a lot of times that I just would feel so lonely, and I was withdrawn from them, and my parents could tell, and they were trying to kind of hone me in, and they seen I was stray, and then it frustrated them, and they couldn't control me, and it made them upset, and yeah, it was just very hard life at home. And so at the age of 18, I decided I was done. I was running away. I packed my vehicle, and I left. Wasn't going to tell mom and dad. I was just leaving. I had a place in Virginia I was going to move to, but I didn't know at the time what I was chasing, but there was an empty spot in my heart. There was a hole, and I wanted to fill it, and I tried to fill it with all kinds of stuff. I tried friends, and they would get too close, and I'd get scared, and I'd push them away, and I just never could let anybody close enough that they could get to my heart, because I didn't want that pain of that rejection or the pain of maybe losing them. So if I could keep them at an arm's length, then and only then I could talk to them. But I couldn't let anybody come in to my heart and heart. So God intervened a little bit. My plan was to run away and not let them know. It just disappeared. I didn't want them to know. I was, at that time, I'm just going to say it, I hated my life. And it was just amazing the way the Lord works, because this was a secret between me and one other person out in Virginia where I was moving to, and I was going to sneak out there. He told his wife or something, and we have an annual conference every year that all the church comes to. And so there's only him and I and his wife that knows. Well, his wife forgot that she wasn't supposed to say anything to anybody. And she came up to my mom, and she said, "We're so excited about having your son come out here this summer down in Virginia." And Mom was like, "I think you got no horse. I don't think my son's coming out then." She goes, "Yeah, you're Jensen Geary's mom, right?" "Yeah." "Yeah, your son's coming out here." And I see that now as the work of God. So suddenly, Mom and Dad are being extremely nice to me, caring, and I thought I was still hiding everything from Mom. I'm packing secretly. As I'm packing one night, the night before I left, Mom and Dad walked into my room. He said, "Can we talk?" I said, "Sure." "About what?" He said, "Will you tell us what's going on?" "How can I? I mean, this is a secret. This is my life. What if they say no? What if all these thoughts were floating through my head?" And they didn't say no. They said, "Jensen, we love you. We care about you. It hurts us to see you go." So, at 18, I moved into a place in Virginia and got a job as an EMT. And an EMT is pretty cool. I'm going to be a hero. Always wanted to be a hero. Who doesn't like running to fire or to wrecks at 2 o'clock in the morning and saving people from a burning car or whatever the case may be? But it didn't feel that hole. It didn't feel that hole in my heart. So I tried different jobs. I tried maybe a relationship. That's what I need. I need a relationship. So I tried a relationship. It didn't fill the hole in my heart. I got invited to be on the invited to be on a secret mission with the sheriff's department, where I kind of went undercover for them, and I took it. That would be cool. It didn't fill a hole in my heart. Inside, there was still a little boy crying, wondering if he would ever be fixed, if he ever could love, if he ever could look somebody in the eye and have a conversation without feeling scared or cowering inside. Now on the outside, all was tough. There's all these things that I thought could build me up were just like a mushy stairs. Every time I'd step, I'd go down a little farther. And so I was done. I'm done. I did it. I got a job. I still work for the sheriff's department, but I'm also teaching school sometimes. I started teaching first and second grade. And it was there that I learned how free children are and how awesome they are. Just with they made me smile, and that was one thing I found joy. And I was seeing these people come in every single day, happy to see Mr. Jensen, and wants Mr. Jensen's attention. But I also was scared because I was the teacher and I didn't feel like I could teach 11 little kids to follow God in the way whenever I was in a position that I was in. Anyways. I was in a dark time, working for the sheriff's department, but at the same time, I am starting to hang out with the wrong crowd. We're starting to drink. My place was the party spot. I was the only one that lived in an apartment without parents around. So many nights, I was the place. My place was the place to come. Everybody comes to Jensen's house when I have a party. Tried to drink my life away. That wasn't working. So what can I do to fill this hole in my heart? One night I'm out there on the sheriff's department, and I can't really share too much details, but I came up to a front door. Oftentimes, whenever I would go into a place, I would have a bulletproof vest under my clothes, but I'd come as a plumber or electrician because these houses were being rented, and we would cut electricity away, cut the water off, send somebody in as a plumber or electrician to fix that. But at the same time, I was supposed to watch, look for drugs, different things that we were searching for. The reason we did it like that because these people were drinking. As soon as you got a little bit close to them, they'd yank out, move, and you have to start all over. So I'm walking up to the front door. I go to knock, and before I can even knock on the door, there's a bunch of noise that shatters the night as a man stands behind his door with an AK and open fire through the front door. That was fear that I felt that night as I fell backwards off that porch. And I was waiting for him to pop over and finish me off, because that's what I thought he was going to do. And as I'm being drug out, the officers were hiding all around, and as soon as that started, the whole street lit up red and blue, and they start dragging me out, and I look down and I see a trail of blood down the sidewalk. And a picture of Jesus flashed through my mind as I seen my blood all the way from where I was laying as I was getting drug out. And I should have listened to that message, but I didn't. Instead, I didn't want Jesus. I was scared of him. What would he do with somebody like me? I'm a wicked person, man. Why would he want somebody like me? He would. That was what was going in my head, and Satan was really doing his work, and he was doing a good job of it. So after I got shot, took some time to recover. I was done with the sheriff's department. because I didn't want that. I didn't want to be shot. I didn't enjoy that very well. And they were saying once I was shot as an undercover, I would have to come full time on the force and be just a regular deputy because my cover was vulnerable. And I didn't want that because my whole life I snuck around. I did little things. And I liked that feeling of getting by with something just as long as I could get by and be unnoticed. But at the same time, I wanted to be noticed. And there was that war going in all in my heart. And I wanted to be somebody, but I did want to be somebody. And I always dreamed of being a hero, but whenever I was a hero, it made me want to shrink back because I was scared what people would say, or what if I say something wrong, or what if somebody takes something wrong. It was all about these things that I was really worried about because I wasn't sure about the future, and I hated who I was in the past. And I was somewhere in the middle, once I could see myself as what I was in the past, in the future, and I was trying to change it myself. And I tried and I tried and I tried to quit drinking, and I couldn't quit drinking. And I was vaping at the time. I tried to stop vaping. I couldn't stop vaping. I got into drugs, and I started taking drugs because I thought maybe I could just end my life that way. And so I took a bottle of pills one night, and I tried to eat the whole bottle of pills. And it didn't do anything to make me really sick. I was feeling, so I took a 9 mil out to the woods. And I caught that thing and I put it up to my head. And I pulled the trigger. And the hammer went click. I was supposed to do that. Pulled the hammer back again and I pointed it at a tree and it went off. So I checked it in another shell because I'm in so much pain, and I stuck it back up to my head and I pulled the trigger and click. Pointed at the tree. Bang. I did that 3 times and then the Lord spoke to my heart. This is what I remember him saying is, "You are my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Come to the Father." But Lord, you don't want me. I'm broken. I'm miserable. I'm nothing. Just let me live my life. He said, "Okay, I'm here for you." And I met these friends that I was working in a restaurant, working 2 jobs, getting 2 hours of sleep at night. Because I was trying to work my life away to fill that void again. Still trying to fill the void. I've got to find something that fills this empty hole in my heart because I need it filled. It's painful, but I can't talk to anybody because I'm a man and I can't tell my struggles because I'm a man and I'm tough. And what will people think and what will people say? But if you would have walked in at night in my room, you would have found a man laying on his bed crying in pain and feeling so miserable and just wondering why and trying to watch movies but couldn't even focus on a movie because his mind would be elsewhere on why. What does all this mean? So I started hanging out with some of these guys, and they're like, introduced me into some satanic worship music, and it wasn't long before I was full blown in that. And I was driving a Jeep Cherokee that I bought and jacked it up, and the guy had a cool vehicle, you know, a real cool guy, and it was my biggest idol in my life. I love that thing. Well, one night I'm coming around the curve, and I hit gravel. And there's a cliff on this side, and it's in Virginia, there's mountains everywhere, but there's a cliff on this side. And as I went to turn, my vehicle didn't turn. And I shot off the cliff. And I remember thinking as I was going down, I'm going to explain this one to the Lord when I'm in heaven. And as I hammered into that tree, I lost consciousness, busted open my jaw. I'm laying there in the Jeep, and this bright light very bright light, appeared on my seat beside me. And I was terrified. And I tried to get out of my Jeep, and as I was trying to get out, the most calm voice that I've ever heard said, "Calm down, you can't get out without me." And I was scared. What am I going to do? I mean, this thing is in my seat. I can't even look at it. It's so bright. But it's saying, "Relax. Come with me." I thought I was dead. I thought it was the Lord coming to take me home. And I had this angel come on and took me back to the hospital bed where a little boy was sleeping. He said, "I loved you there." Took me on to another moment in my life. He said, "I loved you there." He took me on, and he just kind of went through my life. And each time we stopped at like a little section of my life, he'd say, "I loved you there. You are my son." Well, then I came back too, in the Jeep, actually outside the Jeep, laying up beside the road. As they rolled up there on the scene, the guy rolled up and seen me laying alongside the road and stopped to check on me. I wasn't quite all the way conscious, but my vehicle was wedged in between two trees, and there was a tree that was stuck on the pole. There was no way out except through the back window, which had busted, and there was glass and everything all the way down. There was no possible way for me to get out of that vehicle without cutting up my hands and my knees. But I didn't have a scratch except for my busted chin. From the believe that angel carried me and laid me upside that road, because if not, I probably would have died in my Jeep that night. So then, now the Lord has got my attention. And there was a little place called Fresh Start Training Center. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of it or not, but it's a little discipleship program. And at that time, I was deep into personal moral failure, watching videos I shouldn't, trying to feel, like I said, trying to feel all those things. And it was there that Jesus gave me a peace and filled that empty hole that so long I piled all this stuff in. And it wasn't an easy road, but he just came and gave me life. And I was happy to live. And I was living for him, and it was exciting because I had purpose. It was no longer a wondering what I'm going to be. It was, Lord, what can I be today that can shape somebody else's life to be like you? What can I do today that can cause somebody else to feel the peace and the love of Christ? So, I don't have any problems today, right? No. I still have problems. But I have a helper. Actually, I have somebody that leads me into battle against those problems. And it's the power of the cross and the power of prayer that has led me, and the power of him leading me into battle. I've been able to face things that I never thought was possible. I was able to love people that I never thought I could love. And I was able to forgive people that I never thought I could forgive. But the biggest thing that I can stress is I was able to forgive myself for who I was. I didn't have to be scared. I didn't have to feel like I wasn't anything. I didn't have to feel like I had to have attention. I didn't have to feel like I needed to go out and fill a hole in my heart, but instead I could truly love and feel love and allow people to come into my life and to love me for who I am, for who I became through Christ. And now, I'm going to read Revelations 12:11. Because this verse has been very powerful in my life. And I know it for you as well. And they conquered him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And they did not love their lives to the point of death. They conquered him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. For they did not love their lives even to the point of death. So why did I share a story this morning? Because I wanted you to know everything I did in my life. Because of him. Why am I able to stand here in front of these people and share a story? Because of him. Without him in my life, I would still be a miserable, ungrateful, selfish, angry mess. At people who have done me wrong, and people that I even struggled with the Lord. I even remember a time that I was so mad at somebody. I was hollering at the Lord. It's like, Lord, they don't deserve forgiveness from me. Change them and then I can forgive them. It's not me, it's them, Lord. And then he brought to mind the times I had wronged somebody. He said, you're just as guilty. Just as guilty as they are. It made me stop and think. Am I grateful for his forgiveness? Anyway, I know today's Easter. So again, I want to stress the power of the cross and the power of him raising. Just the other night, we were going through a little bit of history of the Lord, I guess, or the Bible, and we were putting in, God so loved you that he did this. And God so loved you that he allowed Adam and Eve to be created and have children. And because he loved you, he allowed his son to come in to the world. And because he loved you, he walked with his disciples who wrote the book. And because he loved you, he went to that cross. And because he loved you, he attempted to carry that cross. Because he loved you, he willingly laid out his arms and allowed them to nail him to the cross. And because he loved you, he went to that grave and rose again and walked on the earth for a little bit more time. And because he loved you, he went to the Father and he sent down the Holy Spirit so that we may have the Comforter and that we may be able to freely walk in his word and freely live as he has asked us to. Now, I'm going to see if I can get you all involved with something. Raise your hand if you've ever struggled with anything. Now look around. Just remember.